The damp, cool air of Seattle was a familiar comfort to Sarah Miller as she stepped out of her Capitol Hill apartment each morning. Rain, or at least a persistent drizzle, was more often than not a feature of her 7:30 a.m. walk to the bus stop on Broadway. She'd always loved the city's muted palette, the way the gray skies made the lush greens of the parks and the vibrant splashes of street art pop with unexpected intensity. Sarah, 31, was a senior software engineer at Veridian Tech Solutions, a behemoth in cloud infrastructure and AI, headquartered in the gleaming towers of downtown Seattle. Her routine was a well-oiled machine. A quick, strong espresso from the Daily Grind Cafe, then the bus ride through the morning rush, her noise-canceling headphones providing a cocoon against the world as she reviewed code on her tablet or listened to a tech podcast. Sarah was a woman of meticulous habits, a trait that had served her well in her career. She thrived on logic, on the elegant precision of well-written code, and on the challenge of untangling complex problems. For the past 18 months, her entire professional life had revolved around Project Chimera, an ambitious, groundbreaking AI-driven analytics platform designed to revolutionize Veridian's data processing capabilities. Chimera was her baby. She had conceived its core architecture, designed its most intricate algorithms, and led the development of its critical modules from concept to near completion. Her team, a small but brilliant group of 5, looked to her not just for technical direction, but for inspiration. Sarah poured her heart and soul into Chimera, often working late into the evening, fueled by lukewarm coffee and the quiet hum of the servers. She envisioned a future where Chimera would not only propel Veridian forward, but would also stand as a testament to her capabilities, potentially paving the way for her own promotion to principal engineer, a goal she had been relentlessly pursuing. Her team lead, Mark Jensen, was a different breed. Tall, impeccably dressed in custom-tailored suits, with a perpetually charming smile that seemed to crinkle the corners of his cerulean eyes, Mark was the quintessential corporate golden boy. He had a knack for networking, an enviable ability to schmooze with VPs, and a magnetic presence in meetings. Mark was a people person, often delegating the deeper technical work to Sarah while he focused on presentations, strategy, and stakeholder management. He was affable, always quick with a compliment, and seemingly genuinely supportive of Sarah's work. "Sarah, you're a genius, truly," he'd say, clapping her on the shoulder in front of others. "Chimera wouldn't be half of what it is without your vision." Sarah, perhaps a little naive to the cutthroat nature of corporate ladder climbing, took his words at face value. She saw him as her advocate, a powerful voice who would champion her work to the higher-ups. The first subtle cracks appeared about 6 months into Chimera's development. Mark started to tweak her project proposals before sending them up the chain. "Just a little polish, Sarah, to make it more digestible for the executive team," he'd explain, his smile unwavering. These polishes often involved rephrasing her detailed technical contributions into more generalized team efforts, always with Mark's name prominently featured as the project lead. Sarah shrugged it off, attributing it to corporate jargon. Then came the emails. Mark would occasionally forward her detailed technical updates to a wider audience, but often with an introductory paragraph that framed his understanding of the project as the primary driver. Still, Sarah was too engrossed in the complex logic of Chimera to pay much heed to these subtle shifts in narrative. She trusted him. She shouldn't have. The true moment of sickening realization began to dawn on her in the weeks leading up to the final executive presentation of Project Chimera. This was the big one, the pitch to the entire C-suite, including CEO Richard Thorne, a man known for his sharp intellect and even sharper questions. Success here meant massive funding, a company-wide rollout, and a huge win for everyone involved. Mark had informed Sarah that he would be leading the presentation, as was typical for a team lead, but assured her she would have a significant segment to dive into the technical intricacies. "You'll shine, Sarah, I promise," he'd said, those blue eyes twinkling. But as they practiced, Mark slowly but surely began to diminish her role. He'd cut her allocated time, simplify her explanations, and most damningly, reattribute key innovations. During a critical run-through with their VP, Lisa Chen, Mark presented a slide detailing the novel AI inference engine. "This architecture," he declared, gesturing to the complex diagram that Sarah had painstakingly designed, "was my vision from the outset." Sarah and the team executed it brilliantly. Sarah felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. It wasn't his vision. It was hers. She'd spent 3 months designing that engine, battling countless late nights and debugging sessions. She tried to interject. "Actually, Mark, the initial concept for the neural network architecture stemmed from my research into quantum annealing for optimization, which then led to—" Mark cut her off smoothly. Yes, Sarah's brilliant insights were definitely leveraged by the team. But the strategic direction, the broader scope of how this engine integrates into the existing framework, that was largely my purview. Lisa Chen nodded, seemingly satisfied. That night, Sarah went home, not to her usual post-work coding session, but to a quiet, unsettling despair. The Seattle rain seemed to mirror her mood, a relentless gray downpour. She sat on her sofa, staring blankly at the cityscape outside her window, the twinkling lights blurring into streaks. The trust she had placed in Mark, the respect she had felt for him, crumbled into dust. It wasn't just a slight. It was a wholesale theft of her intellectual property, her hard work, her very identity as an engineer. She realized with a chilling clarity that Mark hadn't just been polishing her work. He had been meticulously, systematically, taking it for himself, piece by piece, building his own career on the foundation of her brilliance. A wave of nausea washed over her. The humiliation, the injustice, felt like a physical blow. Her hands trembled as she clutched a mug of untouched tea. How could she have been so blind? So naive? The charming smiles, the back patting, they were all a facade, a well-orchestrated performance to disarm and exploit. She felt small, insignificant, and utterly betrayed. Tears finally came, hot and stinging, blurring her vision further. This wasn't just about a project. It was about her future, her reputation, her professional worth. If Mark succeeded in taking credit for Chimera, her career at Veridian, and perhaps even her standing in the wider tech community, would be irreparably damaged. She would be seen as a competent implementer, not an innovator. Her dream of becoming a principal engineer would vanish. The initial emotional collapse lasted well into the night. She didn't sleep, her mind racing through every interaction with Mark, every email, every meeting. The betrayal festered, turning her despair into a cold, hard resolve. By dawn, as the first pale light filtered through the clouds, her tears had dried, replaced by a steely determination. She wasn't going to let him get away with it. Mark Jensen had smiled while sabotaging her, but Sarah Miller had something he didn't, an unwavering commitment to data, to facts, to receipts. Sarah was, by nature, a digital archivist. Every piece of code she wrote, every design document she created, every email she sent or received related to Project Chimera was meticulously organized and backed up. It wasn't paranoia, it was good professional practice. She had version control logs for every line of code, time-stamped design specifications, meeting notes with attendance lists and action items, and email threads discussing key architectural decisions. She had proposed features, detailed bug fixes, and innovative solutions, all documented with dates and her name prominently attached. These weren't just files, they were evidence. Her hidden advantage wasn't some dramatic stroke of genius. It was her fundamental methodical approach to work, her belief in the immutable truth of data. She had the digital paper trail of her entire contribution to Chimera, painstakingly recorded from day one. And now, she realized, this meticulousness was her weapon. The plan began to form in her mind, clear and precise, much like the algorithms she designed. She wouldn't confront Mark directly. That would be too messy, too easily dismissed as a personal vendetta. She would strike where it mattered most, At the executive presentation, the very stage where he intended to claim his ill-gotten glory. The element of surprise was crucial. She needed to present her evidence in a way that was irrefutable, undeniable, and utterly devastating to Mark, all while maintaining her professional composure. Over the next 2 days, Sarah went into a kind of hyper-focused mode. She called in sick, feigning a sudden flu, while she meticulously compiled her receipts. She cross-referenced code commits with project management tickets, design documents with meeting minutes, and email approvals with the final implemented features. She created a separate, secure folder on her personal drive, filled with screenshots, exported logs, and PDFs. A digital dossier that documented every single major technical contribution she had made to Project Chimera, with irrefutable timestamps and authorship. She crafted a concise, powerful slide deck of her own, not to present a project, but to present the truth about its authorship. Each slide would feature a key innovation, a screenshot of Mark's official presentation claiming credit, followed by her corresponding, irrefutable evidence. A code commit log with her name and timestamp, a detailed design document signed by her, an email thread where she proposed the idea. She knew she couldn't just barge in. She needed an opening. The official agenda for the executive presentation listed her for a 5-minute segment on future scaling considerations. Mark had deliberately minimized her part, giving her a small, technical corner while he hogged the spotlight on vision and strategy. This small slot, however, was her golden ticket. It was an official part of the agenda, meaning she had an authorized presence in the room and an allotted time to speak. The day of the executive presentation dawned crisp and unusually clear for Seattle, the sky a brilliant, almost cruel blue. Sarah dressed impeccably, choosing a sharp, dark suit that projected confidence and professionalism, a stark contrast to the turbulent emotions churning within her. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she made her way to the 30th floor conference room, a panoramic space overlooking Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. The room was already buzzing with a low murmur of anticipation. CEO Richard Thorne was there, his silver hair neatly combed, his gaze sharp. Lisa Chen, her VP, sat beside him. Other senior VPs and department heads filled the polished mahogany table. Mark was already at the podium, projecting his usual charismatic aura. He caught Sarah's eye as she entered, offering that familiar, disarming smile, a smile that now, to Sarah, felt like a viper's grin. "Ah, Sarah, glad you could make it, even after your bout with the flu," he said, his tone dripping with feigned concern. "Looking forward to your brief segment later." Sarah offered a tight, polite nod, her expression unreadable. She took her seat, her carefully constructed evidence resting securely on a thumb drive in her pocket. Mark began his presentation. He was a master showman, confidently striding across the stage, gesturing grandly at the slides projected onto the massive screen. He spoke eloquently about his vision for Chimera, his strategic oversight, his innovative approach to integrating AI into Veridian's core infrastructure. He used phrases like, "My initial designs for the neural network architecture. I personally spearheaded the move towards a federated learning model. And, under my direct guidance, the team successfully overcame the data latency challenges." Sarah listened, her body tense, but her mind surprisingly calm. Each claim was a nail in his coffin, a piece of evidence for her to counter. He even made a subtle dig. While some initial ideas from junior members required significant refinement and strategic redirection, the core vision remained robust. This was clearly aimed at her, diminishing her without naming her. Mark Jensen's smile remained unwavering, even as he systematically dismantled her contributions and rebuilt them as his own. After what felt like an eternity, Mark concluded his main presentation. Richard Thorne clapped politely, as did the other executives. "Excellent work, Mark," Thorne said, his voice deep and resonant. "A truly impressive undertaking. Now, I believe Sarah Miller has a few words on future scaling." This was it. Sarah rose, her movements precise. She walked to the podium, her gaze unwavering as she met Mark's eyes. His smile was still there, a benign, encouraging expression that held a subtle hint of condescension, as if to say, "Don't embarrass yourself, sweetie." Sarah offered him a small, almost imperceptible nod, a gesture he likely misinterpreted as deference. "Thank you, Mark," she began, her voice clear and steady, projecting across the room. "And thank you, Mr. Thorne, Miss Chen, for this opportunity. Indeed, I have prepared a brief presentation, not just on scaling considerations, but on the foundational architecture of Project Chimera itself, to ensure everyone has a complete picture of its robust design and the incredible effort that went into it." A subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. Mark's smile faltered, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Lisa Chen leaned forward, a slight frown on her brow. Sarah smoothly inserted her thumb drive into the podium's USB port, overriding Mark's presentation with her own. The screen behind her flickered, then displayed her first slide. A stark white background with the bold title, Project Chimera, a journey of innovation and authorship. As Mark eloquently presented, Sarah continued, her voice gaining a quiet power, Project Chimera is indeed a revolutionary platform. And to fully appreciate its future scalability, it's critical to understand the precise origins of its core components. She clicked to the next slide. On the left was a screenshot of one of Mark's slides from just moments ago, featuring the intricate neural network architecture. Beneath it, a quote attributed to him. "This architecture was my vision from the outset." On the right, Sarah projected a detailed code commit log from Veridian's internal version control system, displaying her name, Sarah Miller, as the author, with a date 16 months prior. Below it, a timestamped design document for the neural network, signed and approved by her, a full month before Mark's supposed vision. The room was silent. You could almost feel the collective intake of breath. Mark's face, moments ago radiating confidence, had gone pale. His smile had vanished, replaced by a look of stunned disbelief. This neural network architecture, which is central to Chimera's predictive capabilities, was conceived and developed by me, starting on this date, Sarah explained, calmly pointing to the timestamp. My original design document, peer-reviewed and approved by my then-mentor, Dr. Anya Sharma, is also attached for verification. She clicked to the next slide. Another of Mark's claims. I personally spearheaded the move towards a federated learning model. Beside it, an email thread. The sender, Sarah Miller. The date, 14 months ago. The recipient, Mark Jensen and 2 other senior engineers. The subject line. Proposal, implementing federated learning for distributed data processing in Chimera. The body of the email detailed her extensive research and rationale for the approach. Mark's reply, a week later, was brief. Looks promising, Sarah. Move forward with a proof of concept. The concept of a federated learning model for Chimera, Sarah articulated, her eyes briefly meeting Mark's, which now held a raw, exposed panic, was first proposed by me in an email to Mark and the senior engineering team on this date. The proof of concept was developed by my sub-team under my direct supervision. The air in the room was thick with tension. Richard Thorne's expression was unreadable, but his eyes were fixed on Sarah, then flickered to Mark, whose hands were visibly trembling on the table. Lisa Chen had pulled out her own tablet, her fingers flying across the screen, likely accessing internal project documentation. Sarah continued, each click of the slide projector a hammer blow. She detailed 27 distinct, critical innovations and features of Project Chimera, each time juxtaposing Mark's public claim with her irrefutable, time-stamped digital evidence. Code commits, design documents, meeting minutes, email exchanges, even internal chat logs where she had provided key solutions. She presented graphs showing her individual contributions to the codebase, far outweighing anyone else's on the team, including Mark's. She even had screenshots of early versions of Mark's, polished, slides, where her name had been present for certain modules, only to be systematically removed in later versions. Her final slide was simple. a timeline of Project Chimera's development. Each major milestone was attributed to the individual or sub-team responsible, with clear, hyperlinked references to the evidence she had just presented. Her name dominated the timeline. Mark Jensen's name appeared primarily in administrative and high-level reporting capacities, never as the architect or primary innovator of any core component. In conclusion, Sarah stated, her voice unwavering as she looked directly at Richard Thorne, Project Chimera is a testament to Veridian's commitment to innovation. Its success is built on a foundation of rigorous engineering, groundbreaking AI research, and countless hours of dedicated work. I hope this detailed overview clarifies the true origins and authorship of its most critical components, ensuring that credit is accurately attributed where it is due. She removed her thumb drive, the small click echoing in the profound silence of the room. She then stepped back from the podium, her posture straight, her gaze steady. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. All eyes were on Mark Jensen, who sat frozen, his face a ghastly shade of gray. The charming smile was gone, replaced by a mask of utter horror. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked like a man who had seen a ghost, or perhaps, whose carefully constructed house of cards had just imploded before his very eyes. Richard Thorne broke the silence. His voice was calm, but with an icy edge that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "Mark," he said, his gaze fixed on his team lead, "do you have anything to add to Sarah's very comprehensive presentation?" Mark swallowed hard. His eyes darted around the room, desperate, cornered. He tried to muster his usual charm, but it was gone. "Mr. Thorne, with all due respect, this is a gross misrepresentation. Sarah is a valuable member of the team, but these are team efforts. As a lead, I consolidate and present them." His voice trailed off, weak and unconvincing. He knew, everyone in the room knew, that his explanation was woefully inadequate against Sarah's mountain of evidence. Lisa Chen spoke next, her tone sharp. "Mark, the evidence Sarah presented is logged in our systems. Every code commit, every design document, every email is time-stamped and verifiable. Your claims directly contradict our internal records. This is not a misrepresentation, it's a direct conflict of fact." Richard Thorne slowly pushed back his chair and stood. He walked around the table, stopping directly in front of Mark. The CEO's expression was grim. "Mark, integrity is non-negotiable at Veridian. To mislead the executive team and to systematically undermine a colleague's contributions is an egregious breach of trust and professional conduct. We will be launching an immediate and thorough internal investigation into this matter. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending the outcome of that investigation." The words hung in the air like a death knell. Mark's face crumpled. He stammered, "But Mr. Thorne, sir, I assure you." Thorne cut him off with a raised hand. "There's nothing to assure, Mark. The receipts speak for themselves." He then turned to Sarah, his expression softening slightly. "Sarah, thank you for your candor and for bringing this to our attention. Your dedication to Project Chimera is clearly evident. Lisa, please ensure Sarah is properly credited for her work and that her contributions are highlighted in all future communications regarding Chimera." Sarah felt a rush of vindication, a profound relief that washed over her like the tide. It wasn't just about exposing Mark, it was about reclaiming her truth, her integrity. The cost of betrayal was high, but the price of silence, she realized, would have been higher. In the days and weeks that followed, the fallout was swift and decisive. The internal investigation confirmed Sarah's evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt. Mark Jensen was terminated from Veridian Tech Solutions, his once promising career in tatters, his reputation as the charming golden boy irrevocably tainted. The news spread through the company like wildfire, a stark lesson to anyone contemplating similar corporate deceit. Sarah, meanwhile, found herself thrust into a new, unexpected spotlight. She was officially recognized as the lead architect of Project Chimera, and her promotion to principal engineer, originally just a distant hope, was fast-tracked and announced within a month. Her name became synonymous with Chimera's success, and she gained a new level of respect from her colleagues and the executive team. She was no longer just a brilliant engineer. She was an engineer of unwavering integrity, a woman who had stood up for herself and won. The path of revenge had been emotionally taxing, filled with anxiety and the heavy burden of confrontation. But as Sarah looked out from her office window at the bustling Seattle skyline, the city's muted beauty still a comfort, she felt a different kind of peace. It wasn't the joyous elation of victory, but the quiet satisfaction of justice served. The charming smile of her Gemini team lead was a distant, bitter memory, replaced by the clear, irrefutable truth contained in her receipts. And that, she knew, was a far more powerful legacy.